There comes a time in every person's life when the world seems to move on without them. A moment when the once familiar rhythm of purpose fades into a quiet echo. For Arthur, a retired architect whose hands had once shaped city skylines, that time was now. His house, once a bustling hub of activity, had become a silent sanctuary of memories. He would sit for hours in his favorite armchair, the afternoon light filtering through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. In his hands, he held faded photographs, a collection of moments from a career that felt like a lifetime ago. There he was, a younger man in a hard hat, beaming proudly in front of a newly completed skyscraper. Another photo showed him shaking hands with a client, a contract signed, a new dream about to take shape. Each image was a testament to a life of achievement, yet they now served only as a painful reminder of what he had lost. The blueprints were rolled up, the deadlines were gone, and the phone had stopped ringing. An unsettling stillness had settled over his life, leaving him with a profound sense of purposelessness. Determined to break free from the grip of his own nostalgia, Arthur embarked on a search for a new passion. He first turned to the garden, hoping to find solace in nurturing new life. He bought trowels, seeds, and watering cans, meticulously planning out flower beds. But the soil felt foreign under his fingernails, and the slow, patient growth of the plants only amplified his own restlessness. Next, he tried his hand at painting. He set up an easel by the window, squeezing vibrant colors onto a palette, ready to capture the world outside. Yet the canvas remained stubbornly blank. The world he saw, people rushing to work, cars speeding down the street, life happening in a blur of motion, felt distant and inaccessible. He was no longer a part of that frantic, energetic dance. He was merely an observer, a man left behind, watching the world pass by from the quiet solitude of his window. The hobbies felt like hollow imitations of fulfillment, failing to fill the void left by his life's work. The turning point came on a quiet Sunday afternoon, in the most unexpected of ways. His young grandson, Leo, clambered onto his lap, his small hands holding a well-worn storybook. "Grandpa," he said, his voice small but clear, "can you tell me a story?" "Not from the book, a real one." Arthur hesitated. His real stories were of budgets and building codes, of concrete and steel. What would a child find interesting in that? But looking into Leo's wide, expectant eyes, he found himself recalling a tale from his own youth. A story about building a magnificent treehouse with his father, a secret fort hidden high in the branches of an old oak tree. As he spoke, weaving in details of creaky floorboards and a rope pulley for hoisting snacks, he saw a spark ignite in Leo's eyes. The boy was captivated, his imagination transporting him to that treetop kingdom. In that moment, watching his grandson's face light up with wonder, Arthur felt a flicker of the old fire, a sense of connection he hadn't realized he was missing. That single spark soon grew into a steady flame. Inspired by his grandson's reaction, Arthur began volunteering at the local library's weekly story hour. At first he was nervous, standing before a small circle of children with just his memories as his script. He didn't read from fairy tales or picture books. Instead, he shared his own real-life stories. He told them about the time he designed a bridge that everyone said was impossible to build, and how teamwork made it happen. He described the thrill of watching a building rise from the ground, floor by floor, like a giant growing toward the sky. His tales weren't just about architecture. They were about perseverance, creativity, and the magic of bringing an idea to life. Word began to spread, and his audience grew each week. Children would sit cross-legged on the colorful rug, their faces a sea of rapt attention, completely engrossed in the adventures of a man who had built the world around them. In the end, Arthur found his new beginning not by looking for something to replace his past, but by finding a new way to share it. He stood in the library, the sound of children's laughter and applause echoing around him, a stark contrast to the silence that had once filled his home. He was surrounded by smiling faces, their eyes full of admiration and curiosity. He realized then that his true strength wasn't confined to the buildings he had constructed or the accolades he had earned. It was in the wisdom he had accumulated over a lifetime, a treasure he could now pass on to a new generation. His purpose was no longer about shaping skylines, but about shaping young minds. building not with steel and glass, but with stories and inspiration. For in sharing his journey, he discovered that the greatest legacy one can leave is the light they kindle in the eyes of others.